Hello, everyone from Innopolis, Russia. My name is Rais Khadeev, and I'm a community manager of the Special Economic Zone Innopolis. Today, we're going to talk about the opportunities of starting business in Austria for international and technology companies and the residents of the Special Economic Zone Innopolis in particular. And then we will hold a pitch session to determine the interests of our companies in the Austrian market and the European Union market in total. Well, let me introduce you to speakers from Austrian Business Agency. With great pleasure, it's Miss Birgit Reiter-Braunwieser. She is the director of coming companies from Central and Eastern Europe. Birgit, it's nice to see you.
Thanks, Rais. Thanks to you. We are having this session today. We are very grateful that we have this opportunity to talk to the residents of Innopolis and to see where perhaps we can find mutual synergies.
Thank you very much. And I would like also to introduce you to Mr. Peter Löschal. He is the international advisor of Austrian Business Agency. Peter, nice to see you.
As always, a pleasure for me talking to Russian companies and helping them.
Great, thank you very much. And with a great pleasure, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Rudolf Lukowski. He's the commercial counselor and the head of economic section of the Embassy of Austria in Russian Federation. Mr. Lukowski, it's a great honor for us to welcome you at today's event, and I give you the floor for the opening speech.
Thank you very much, and I'm also pleased to join you for this meeting. Between the companies from Innopolis, Tatarstan and the Austrian Business Agency. I won't take very long, but I would like to give you, first of all, an idea on what the Austrian Embassy in Moscow is doing, and then just a few words about Austrian companies, what they are doing in Russia and vice versa. Russian companies active in Austria. The commercial section of the Austrian Embassy is not only part of the embassy as a diplomatic representation, but we also directly represent the interest of Austrian business in general in Russia, representing the Federal Economic Chamber of Austria, but we are very closely operating and working with Austrian Business Agency, but also other institutions, including ministries. So we represent Austrian business in general on a non-commercial basis. We do not only have office in Moscow, we have also small offices in Yekaterinburg and St. Petersburg, and one employee in Sochi, and further colleague in Novosibirsk, since Moscow is the capital of Russia, but there are so many regions and we try to cover as many as possible. Of course, beside Moscow and St. Petersburg, there are various regions which are of major importance for the collaboration with Austria, and Tatarstan, Kaluga, Ufa, Yekaterinburg, some of the regions which have on the one side a very diversified industry, a very, very high level of industrial activity and close cooperation with Austria. One word maybe for the consular questions. The consulate in Moscow, the Austrian consulate, is issuing currently business visas, and for business travelers to Austria also there is no requirement for quarantine and no requirement for pre-travel clearance as long as this is a business visa. Tourist visa, unfortunately, are not yet issued. And of course, we are part of Schengen, once people have Schengen visa, they can also travel to Austria. In Kazan, there is an VFS office, so its application does not have to be in Moscow for business visa. It can also be done in Kazan, which is of course easier as in many other cities all over Russia. Of course, on the other side, there is the Russian trade representation and commercial office, who is also supporting Russian business activities in Austria. Maybe just a few words about trade and investment in both directions. Austrian investment in Russia amounts to approximately officially 6 billion euro, and it covers a wide range of industries: paper and food processing, energy, machinery, automotive, packaging, food and agro technology, environmental technology, but also banking, logistics, and trade. In Tatarstan, two major investors from Austria is Wienerberger and Palfinger. On the one side, construction material, on the other side, machinery and automotive. About 650 Austrian companies are working all over Russia. The 6 billion euro are definitely on the lower end of the real picture. Many Austrian companies also invest via third countries, so you might have investors from Malta, Cyprus, and other countries which are originally from Austria. But this, of course, is always the issue. Not all investments are direct. On the other hand, Russian investments to Austria is very high. Russia ranks second after Germany with investments in Austria, and it amounts approximately to 21 billion euro. And here the main sectors are oil and gas companies, chemical industry, banking, but also real estate. Our role is actually to promote business activities between Russia and Austria, whether it's export promotion from our side, whether it's sourcing, that means import support, whatever goes to Austria, and of course also investment and cooperation. And a very strong focus is on activities in interesting sectors, in new regions, to explore cooperations with the different regions of Russia. What could I add? Trade, of course, is considerably high. Our trade exchange amounts to approximately 5 billion euro last year. However, we have seen higher volumes of export and import in the years 2012 and 2013. After 2014, 2015, we have a slow recovery, but by any means we cannot be satisfied with the trade exchange. I think we should do more from all sides to boost our trade relations and see what are the potentials for further collaborations. So I would be pleased to be available for any questions related to doing business with Austria. And once again, thank you very much for the invitation to briefly introduce my office and myself. And I wish you a fruitful discussion with Austrian Business Agency.
Thank you, Mr. Lukowski, for your very warm opening speech. And we are very happy to host this event, host this demo day, because all these companies that are participating right now in our demo day, they are really interested in working in Austrian market. And we just wanted to propose the following agenda for our meeting. The first will be the presentation of support that Austrian Business Agency could provide our companies when starting business in Austria. And after it, it will be some kind of pitch session for 3 minutes by each participating company. What do they do? What they're interested in Austria, and maybe some concentrate questions to Austrian Business Agency. Thank you so much, Mr. Lukowski. Okay, colleagues, I kindly suggest you the following. Dear Birgit and Peter, please tell us about the Austrian market and the support measures that you provide to foreign companies, please.
Thanks, Rudolf. Thanks, Rais. Austria and Russia have already good economic relations going on. Rudolf said it, we already have strong Russian companies that use Austria, and in particular Vienna, as their base within the European Union. Today's event for us is also a possibility to reach out to technology, research-intensive companies like all of you, and to particularly draw the attention to what Austria as a business and research location has got to offer to innovative companies. Peter and I have prepared a presentation based actually on the questions that we had gotten. I will now try to share my screen and actually, hopefully it all works out, while Peter is actually also introducing himself. Sorry. Can you see the full screen already? Or can you see, no, you can't see the full screen, right? Hang on one second.
Yes, we see it.
Yes, we see the full screen.
You should expand it.
Yes, now it's full screen. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just have to go to the top. Here we go. Okay, now we are good, right? So together with me is Peter, who works also as international advisor, particularly helping me supporting Russian companies located in Austria.
Now, many thanks, first of all, for being able to talk with you, but also many thanks for preparing this list of questions beforehand, which gave us a kind of guidance what we want to talk about. And now you can read that it's your text, it's your questions, and we have tried to find all the answers. Well, some would need a huge amount of time to answer, but at least to cover, so you can understand the results. And what we also have tried to include the why is Austria as it is? Because we will be reporting about some miraculous things in Austria, and you also have to understand why this is.
To start with, perhaps a few more words about the Austrian Business Agency, who we are and what we do. ABA is the National Investment Promotion Agency owned by the Austrian Ministry of Digitalization and Business Location. For Russians, I guess one has to explain we are government, but we are not, in the sense that in terms of our own understanding, we act as a consulting company, but all of that on a non-commercial basis. We provide free of charge information and support to foreign investors, to foreign companies that want to locate in Austria, that want to start business operations in Austria. And as such, we work with companies from all sectors, small as well as large. We do not have our own offices abroad, rather we work in close cooperation with the economic sections of the Austrian embassies abroad, like Mr. Lukowski, who are, if you want, our extended reach in the various countries. And within Austria also, we have a very strong regional network. We work with the regional governments and their economic development organizations, so we can cover countrywide support throughout Austria thanks to this network. What do? We have actually 3 divisions within ABA. Peter and I are from the Invest in Austria division. Here we provide, as I said, information about the business conditions. We answer legal, tax, labor law related questions to those companies that are exploring the business locations, whether or not to invest in Austria. And we certainly then help those companies come up with site visits, help them find suitable locations, help them go through all the procedures when starting the business, and also afterwards work with them. ABA also has a division called Work in Austria. Here, the main focus is on the one hand in helping companies secure the talent that they need in order to be successful in Austria, and also working with the international companies that want to bring in also their own staff. So in this division also we offer support with regards to residence and work permit questions that, of course, the foreign investors may want to bring in their own management or specialists when starting business in Austria. And then the third unit within ABA is actually, there's also a small division supporting film productions. Why? Again, image-wise, I think it's very important for a country to also host film productions, and this is a small division that we also have under our roof. What can we do for you? I think that was already one of the questions that you had. ABA in that sense is a classical business location agency where we provide services for the investors along the whole process of investment decision, all the way to company establishment, and even after establishment in the country, also collecting the feedback from the foreign investors in order to actually also have the feedback turned into policy recommendations for the owner, that is the Ministry of Economy. So what do we offer? In the very early stage where foreign companies need to collect information, we can research for you, we can provide customized data and market input. When it comes closer to actual company establishment, the foreign companies may have concrete legal, tax, labor law related questions that we are covering. Once the companies are established, or even before, you may have questions regarding what exactly are my funding opportunities, subsidy possibilities, or more widely spoken, financing opportunities also. So these are all the aspects that we are covering and that we can basically help you with.
Now, Austria traditionally has an east-west bridging function. This has an historical reason, and we don't want to talk too much about history, but it also has a geopolitical reason. because Austria lies in the heart of Europe. In fact, from Austria, you can reach almost every point of the European Union within 2 or 2.5 hours. But there is another reason I would like to talk about, specifically for Russian companies. 1955, Austria signed a peace treaty. Now, by the way, Austria has a peace treaty, Germany not. And this peace treaty stipulates lifelong permanent neutrality. This peace treaty was signed by 4 governments, the UK, United States, France, and Russia. And those 4 countries are securing and guaranteeing the lifelong neutrality of Austria. So there is a natural interest of Russia in the well-being of Austria. And as a consequence, Mr. Lukowski mentioned that the Russian investments in Austria with 24 billion euro are the second largest investments of foreign companies in Austria. Number 1 is Germany, but number 2 is Russia. So this is one of the essence and effects of this peace treaty and the history. Now, Austria is a small country with close to 9 million people. But would I have given this presentation 20 years ago, I would have mentioned here Austria has 7.9 million people. So Austria is growing not only in terms of GDP, but also in terms of people. But we will touch that a little bit later. With the GDP now, this is 2020. So within this horrible pandemic time, we are still very much in front and number 4 within the European Union, ahead of Germany. So Austria has a strong purchasing power, and the research and development quota in percentage of the GDP is fantastically with 3.19%. This is an absolute wonderful, convincing point, and I will be talking about this later on. Now, let us talk about the structure of the economy. And the strongest, or the second strongest sector is industry. If you look at the part or at the portion of industry on the GDP, then you see that Austria with 28.5% is stronger industrialized than UK, Netherlands, France, or even the United States. Now, why would that be important to know the level of industrialization? Now, for the economists, it's clear, the higher the industrialization, the less or lower the effects of any industrial danger zone. Now, looking at the industry with 28.5% of GDP, we also have this convincing 15% of tourism or generation by tourism. What would that mean? 15% of GDP with tourism would mean 150 million tourist nights per year. Now you can say, is that much or little? If you look at Greece, Greece has per year 80 million tourist nights. So this just gives you a position on how strong Austria is in tourism. What are the strongest industry sectors? Number 1 is machinery. Number 2, electronics. Number 3 is vehicles or cars. More than 200,000 cars are built in Austria every year. Chemicals and food. But this is only part of the story.
Okay, so now let's perhaps turn towards what has the business location got to offer to international companies, and what are the main reasons why international companies locate in Austria. I think there are 5 main reasons. First, the market and the market access. Austria, as Peter said, strong purchasing power. Within the EU member countries, Austria is part of the richest. If the average purchasing power in the European Union is 100, in Austria it's 128. Only Luxembourg or so are richer than Austria. So here certainly it's the consumers that are very attractive clients, but it's also the B2B segment. It's also the Austrian companies that are highly attractive clients and also have a very strong payment morale. So that also, I would say, makes it attractive. Secondly, as I already mentioned, especially for Russian companies, Austria often is their base for the large EU market, their headquarter location, because of the very central geographic location within the European Union. Here we have tried to put circles in here. This would be, the inner circle is 1 hour flight time. You can see from a central location in Austria, you'll reach 90 million customers. But if you already widen that circle to the next circle, within 2 hours of flight time, you'll reach 420 million customers. And another aspect on all of this is Austria is a market of almost 9 million inhabitants. But within the EU market, the DACH region, that is the German-speaking region with approximately 100 million consumers, is the strongest within the EU market. And certainly what international companies often do is they start in Austria, a market size, the Austrian market itself, 9 million. The lessons they learn when rolling out in the Austrian market, they can then immediately also adapt for the larger DACH region. So Austria often is a test market for the larger DACH region. That is certainly also what people use Austria for. First, also localizing into German, for example, if it's a consumer product, and then taking it further. Second most important reasons, I think Austria strongly scores when it comes to the overall package of business conditions. We have seen in the pandemic that soft factors such as stability, security, safety, good infrastructure, a working healthcare system, a working social security system, things that we often take for granted, but these soft factors often become more important than before. And here I think Austria scores very well. We have an efficient public administration, e-government services are quite advanced in Austria. So these are all soft facts that certainly also contribute to Austria scoring highly. Also, under the same framework conditions, I would summarize the availability and the pricing for office rent. Average office rent in Vienna is, for example, quite lower than compared to other capital cities in the European Union, but even worldwide. You can see here, this is a statistic that we use from actually one of the global real estate agents, CBRE, where Vienna really has a sizable offer at fairly moderate costs. Also part of the framework conditions. Tax system, corporate tax rate is 25%. Yes, it's more than in Russia. But I guess here I would argue you always have to also compare what can you get in return for your taxes. And from a corporate point of view, I think the 25% are okay. Please keep in mind, the biggest country of origin for investment for Austria is Germany. And in Germany, the corporate tax rate is between 28 and 32%, depending on the exact location, because Germany has a combined system of federal and regional taxes on the corporate tax rate. Austria also offers modern group taxation. That is a system that helps companies that are active in various countries and expanding in various countries to offset profits that they are making with losses that they are having in other jurisdictions, as long as the headquarters in Austria. And Austria is particularly generous to research-intensive companies, because there is a tax premium offered to companies that undertake R&D. They can actually get a 14% research premium, meaning 14% of the expenses that the companies have for research and development, they can claim back from the tax authority. And that is actually the main reason why so many international companies, again, the German companies particularly, use the research location Austria to undertake R&D here. And of course, also Austria offers a large network of double taxation treaties, which is also another reason why many international companies operate in Austria. Yes, here you actually get to see how Austria compares on the nominal corporate income tax with other European countries. And I think here you see quite well, yes, we are not the cheapest, but when you compare Austria here with main competitor countries that offer, I would say, a similar level of return on taxes as I expressed it, like Germany, France, Belgium, Netherlands, then you see that I think here Austria is positioned quite well, actually. And perhaps another caveat here, of course, one thing are the nominal tax rates, such as the nominal corporate income tax rate. But another thing is always the tax base. And the tax base, that is the base, the number that you use on which you actually pay corporate income tax. In Austria, we have for corporates and businesses, I would say, rather generous regime where, for example, even business luncheons are tax deductible in Austria. In many countries, they are not. So you can deduct company expenses so that the tax base is often somewhat lower than in other countries where there are no possibilities for deducting company expenses in certain areas, for example. All right. One of the questions that came from you was also about legal forms and how to set up a business. The most common legal form in Austria is the so-called limited liability company, in German Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Haftung, GmbH. I would say more than 90% of companies, especially for international companies, this is the suitable legal form to choose. Shareholders of a limited liability company can be any, there are all options possible. It can be one physical person, it can be also legal entities. It can be a combination of a physical person and a legal entity. So anything's possible here. Shareholder can be an Austrian citizen, an EU citizen, but also equally fine a citizen from a third country, no questions asked. It is also not necessary that the shareholder is domiciled in Austria. The managing director itself can also be of any citizenship. With regards to requirements to set up the company, a regular limited liability company in Austria has a minimum share capital of 35,000 euros, of which 17,500 need to be paid into a bank account. There is now a so-called privileged form of limited liability company where the share capital is lower and where the shareholders have the obligation within the first 10 years of existence of the company to fill up the share capital to the regular amount. However, though, this privileged version was created by the government in order to have more startup founders choose that version. I would not recommend this form for an international company. Let's say if one of you would establish a GmbH in Austria, then I would recommend to go for a regular one, simply because with all the international transactions, you don't want your company to be undercapitalized and the share capital itself is not frozen. You can use it and you will probably at the beginning need it anyway in order to build up operations, etc. There is a requirement for a trade license. Even ICT companies have to have a quote-unquote formal trade license. What does it mean? It simply means that you register for it and you apply for it, and that if you have one person on the ground who is the official trade license holder. And this person has to be either an EU citizen or has to have a residence and work permit in order to be able to act as the trade license holder. In Austria, we distinguish between free trades and regulated trades. What does that mean? This means out of 800 trades, we have 720 free trades where no special qualification needs to be proven in order to obtain it. There are a couple of about 80 regulated trades, such as, for example, jewelry designer, goldsmith, or things like that, or very traditional handicraft professions. But for example, many trades are free trades and no special qualifications need to be proven.
Is free.
Exactly. Okay. The overall company formation, I would say, takes 2 to 3 weeks. Of course, there are service providers out there who can also offer to provide a ready-made company, a company shell, if it needs to be very, very quick. But again, I'd say the better prepared all the documents are, the faster it goes. These days, I would say sometimes it's actually to open the bank account that takes a bit more time, because the banks need to do all the know your customer procedures and customer clearance. That is more cumbersome often than the actual company registration.
Now let's talk about people. I could be talking about people in Austria for the rest of the day. So I have to talk either very quick or shorten. the productivity in Austria is about 16% above European average. But the education is something which is very unique. We have the so-called dual education apprenticeship. That means that apprentices are going to school, not only learn on the job, they have to go to school. We have vocational schools, higher technical training institutes, where people leave the institute as an engineer, and they are not academic grade, but they are much less expensive, and they have the proper technical training. They form the backbone of the Austrian higher technical employees. Now, let's have a look at Germany. Germany is measuring the strikes per capita per year in days. France is measuring the strikes per year in weeks. Austria is measuring the strike per capita and year in seconds. We have virtually no strikes because the motivation of the people is properly supported, and we have a social system which is called the social partnership, which offers a fair and a fair treatment of employees. What we also see that Austria has 55 universities. Now, 55 universities for 9 million people, this is much too much. We cannot fill those universities. Now you might ask, are they crazy, the Austrians? Have they fun building universities? No, there's a strategy behind. We would like to be attractive for international students coming to Austria and studying here. If they stay, this is fantastic. We need young, well-educated people. If they go home after their studies, that's okay, because then we have friends all over the world. I have mentioned earlier that we are not only growing in terms of GDP, but we are also growing in terms of people. You find immigration in Austria as one of the major elements. And if you look at this international list, or this list of nationals living in Austria, you find on the lower end, there are 30 or more than 33,000 Russians living and working in Austria. This is quite a little town. So and as a consequence, you find Russian-speaking lawyers, Russian-speaking tax advisors, and Russian-speaking service personnel. But if you look at the highest group of people working and living in Austria, you see these are the Germans. Now, they will have a reason. I leave it up to your consideration what the reason is to come to Austria. Now, as a consequence, as I mentioned earlier, Austria has many universities. So Vienna is also very interesting for talents, worldwide talents. And the International Competitive Yearbook is listing Vienna on the 4th place worldwide as attractive for talent. Austria is, now let me first mention, 55% or more than 55% of all products and services generated in Austria are exported. This is a very high export rate. But Austria, of course, is next to Central and Eastern Europe. And the Austrian companies are strongly invested in those countries. And here you see a list on where Austria in Eastern and Central Europe is a number 1, 2, 3, or 4 investor in those countries. Innovation. Now, this is one of my favorite subjects. I used to be in my previous life before ABA, a member of the board of an automotive supplier company, and I was responsible, amongst others, for research and development. And now I have to talk a little bit background, so you understand why Austria is one of the leaders in Europe for investments in innovation. 1990, when Eastern Europe was opening up as a new market, Austrian companies were in the first line, and Austrians, and we saw it earlier, invested heavily in those countries. But as a matter of those investments, manufacturing capacity was moving from Austria into Eastern Europe, Eastern and Central Europe. And then the Austrian government started to think, what is the future of Austria when our manufacturing is going to lower cost countries? The conclusion was, we have to adapt knowledge-based value generation. And since then, and this decision was taken in the late 90s of the last century, since then Austria is constantly increasing its investments into R&D. And here you see the comparison to the average European Union, to Germany, our everlasting benchmark, and Austria, which has, catched up over those years. And now is Austria before Germany. And there's only one country in the European Union which is slightly higher in spending for R&D, and this is Sweden. So it's good to know for you that when you come to Austria, you find R&D in every corner. But let's not only look at the R&D investments or innovation investment. Let us look at the overall investments. And let us look in a specific period. 2007, American banks ruined the European market. And the European market was struggling about 10 years long to come back into the old routine. In those 10 years, of course, investments of many companies have been reduced. And if you look at European Union, you see that only 2 countries increased the overall investments, or the companies in those countries increased investments in those difficult periods, and the rest of Europe decreased investments. And we all know that once you decrease investments in a company, you are lost. So you see, and now let me also point that out, it's not by chance that those 2 countries which are increasing overall investments are also number 1 and number 2 in R&D investments. So this is the place Austria in this international ranking. Now every success, and now Austria being number 2 in the EU for R&D, so every success has many phases. One of the phases are the very successful competence centers in Austria. There are more than 40 competence centers which are specifically geared to provide scientific support for new product developments or new service developments for small and medium-sized companies. I could be talking very long. If you have interest in that, let's do it offline.
Let's turn to 2 sectors that are probably of interest to you in particular, because as we saw from the list, you are all from the ICT sector or from the life science sector. Let's start with the ICT sector in Austria. It is responsible for approximately 290,000 employees, and it contributes approximately 8.6% to the Austrian GDP. That makes Austria quite a sizable ICT location, particularly Vienna. Vienna region is where most ICT companies are located. And also, this is the sector where we see a very high R&D expenditure at the moment going on. And I should add that also the Austrian Research Promotion Agency, which is the main government agency administering and managing subsidies for R&D, their strongest sector is ICT. So many of the ICT companies active in Austria also undertake R&D in Austria. And the ICT sector in Austria has an export ratio of 80% and an R&D quota of, which is far higher than the average, between 15 to 20% rather than the average 3%. Austria has a very good university landscape as well as universities of applied sciences. As you can see from this chart, we have tried to give a bit of an overview. What are the number of students and what are the number of annual graduates coming out of these programs? So as you can see here, we have the data. If you're interested in pointing you to some specific programs where you're looking for talent, that's certainly what we can also help you with and provide you. Another very big sector is the life science industry in Austria. Here again, a sector that is roughly 1,000 companies in Austria, turnover of 22.4 billion, also highly research intensive. And again, in Austria, of course, it's Vienna and Vienna region, but certainly also Graz, where you, for example, have the big biobank, you have medical university in Graz, you have a whole cluster of startups collaborating with corporates, spin-offs from the university, similarly also Innsbruck in Tyrol, and actually the fourth location in Austria having a medical university now is Linz. There particularly you will also have many medtech companies, e-health companies, especially innovative companies also using the data plus the medical applications of it. So you have a very interesting environment for life sciences also in Austria. Perhaps, and we're getting closer to the end, I promise. Also a few more words about finance, funding and support, because I think this is always a very interesting topic for international companies who are considering the business location. Austria, as it was mentioned before, particularly for research and technology intensive companies, is a very interesting place because in Austria we have so-called direct incentives as well as a fiscal incentive for those companies. Direct incentives, I mean here the Austrian Research Promotion Agency as main government agency providing subsidy programs. Here the way it works is that you have to apply with a specific research project. You can apply as a single firm, but they also have thematic calls where they encourage cooperation between companies or between company and research institute, so several project partners. And the subsidy intensity here is up to 60% of the total project cost you can get as a subsidy. So that's the direct funding, mainly, as I said, through the Austrian Research Promotion Agency, which is in essence a sister agency of ABA because it's also fully government owned, and Certainly for the foreign investors that apply for the first time with the Austrian Research Promotion Agency, we also provide guidance and support here. These direct incentives are combined with the fiscal incentive, the so-called research premium. The way it works here is that the company first has the research expenses, but retroactively, you can claim 14% of the eligible R&D expenses back as a tax credit. If you're not yet profit making, you actually get this tax credit cash in your corporate account from the tax authority. And eligible costs are costs for personnel, for material, for in-house research, or outsourced research to Austrian research institutes. You need to get the expert opinion from the Austrian Research Promotion Agency, again, that indeed, yes, these are R&D expenses as defined by the European Union. But the research premium works for small companies, startups, as well as large corporates. And as I mentioned earlier, particularly the large corporates, they appreciate this fairly unbureaucratic research premium. Why? Because they do not have to go through preparing a detailed research project application, and they need to make sure that they apply in time, and only once they have the yes can they start with the research project. So the research premium from that point of view is less bureaucratic, and it's quicker and much less I would say documentation needed than for the direct funding if you want to access that. Austria is a federal country, and while of course the largest share of subsidies comes at the federal level, there are also subsidies provided by the regional level, that is the regional governments. We try to cover and talk about mainly about the R&D subsidies, because this is where Austria is most generous. But for I just want to also mention that in addition to the R&D subsidies, there are also subsidy opportunities for when you establish a production facility in Austria, or when you invest in environmental measures. And then certainly also Austria has a highly developed system of support for companies that internationalize from Austria going further, to help the Austrian companies be successful in entering new export markets. The main bodies for subsidy programs were probably already mentioned. FFG as the Austrian Research Promotion Agency for the research intensive companies. There is also another agency at the federal level called Austria Wirtschaftsservice. They are the funding bank for, let's say, if you set up industrial production. And then just to cite an example for regional subsidies, Vienna Business Agency, that is the economic development agency owned by the city of Vienna, also offers funding opportunities for companies that locate in Vienna, in addition to what's provided at the government, at the federal government level. One last word, perhaps also on Austria as a startup location. Over the course of the last 10 years, we have really seen the vibrant development of a very lively startup ecosystem. 10 years ago, startups and startup ecosystem was a topic for Vienna. By now, you will find a very lively scene, not just in Vienna, but in all the cities where you have a university of applied science, innovation, ICT, digitalization is a huge topic. Many of the Austrian corporates are very actively engaging collaboration with startups in order to bring the innovation from outside into the company. So I think here a lively scene has developed. Austria also is home to probably the most active European VC fund, that is Speed Invest. That from headquarters in Vienna is covering all of Europe and investing heavily throughout Europe in tech startups. And actually, they even invest also in Russian tech startups. They are very much looking also for Russian technology companies to go towards Europe. We have a strong scene on incubators, accelerators, events, etc., etc. Entrepreneurship is a big topic in Austria. We see on average every day the establishment of 160 new companies. This number includes the local founders, of course, as well as the company establishment as subsidiaries from international companies altogether. And I think this is a very nice and interesting development here as well, where you see we have a very strong and lively entrepreneurship scene. And that is something that also gives a lot of dynamic in the economic activity overall in Austria. To sum up, we as ABA try to reach out proactively to the foreign companies that are on the jump of going international. We see a particular potential for Russian technology-intensive companies to conquer the EU market, because we actually see strong technology-driven companies, strong innovative companies in Russia, where we believe that there is a real market opportunity in the European Union. And I think Austria, and there's all the arguments that we said, I think would be a good base for you within the European Union, that you will need as a Russian company to conquer the market. And probably as a technology intensive company from Russia, you also first have to localize your technology. You have to commercialize it, adapt it to the European Union market. And for that, I think, again, Austria would be an ideal jumping board, so to say, to get that task done before you then can really roll out from Austria to the larger market. As ABA, we are happy to support you from first contact, during the evaluation phase, and hopefully then once you have the decision taken that yes, Austria should be your base, then also through the implementation phase of starting here. Here are Peter and my direct contacts, and with that I'm going to end. Sorry, we have taken up a bit more time than originally anticipated, but I hope you gave us this patience, and we are very eager to listen to you, to your individual presentation, and to better understand your needs so that we then can react in a customized fashion and actually engage with each of you individually according to your needs.
Okay, Birgit, Peter, thank you so much for such informative presentation. I guess that our participants already have a lot of questions and ready for self-presentation. And firstly, I would like to give the floor for the presentation to Rim Safiulin. He is the General Director of Digital Health. Rim, I will remind you, each speaker has 3 minutes for presentation. We kindly ask you to share your screen if you have any slides and tell us your personal name and the name of the company. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Rim. I'm the CEO and co-founder of CloudDocs. At CloudDocs, we say that we care about the health of our clients like their mother. The only difference is that we do it by subscription. Today, we see terribly bad things happening in medicine. I am talking about the situation with the chronic diseases. Just imagine chronic diseases account for 60% of all deaths in the world. It is possible not to get sick, but people miss the moment. Why? Medicine is unfriendly to communication on preventive topics, and we have challenged it with injustice and want to solve it with telemedicine technology. Telemedicine is an end-to-end technology for our startup. Let's look at this market in the world. According to experts, the market is growing annually by 20% and will reach $175 billion by 2026. A great time for our solution. And what we give to our users, it is based on a personal health record. We call it PHR, where it is convenient to store all medical documents. And our PHR has 2 cool features for our users. Firstly, we give our users a simple educational platform where you can easily understand the most important things of medicine. Secondly, it is our health buddy. Inside your health record, we offer you a special subscription for personal medical assistant, whom we like to call health buddy. Our health buddy controls the main milestones of your health, helps formulate and touch your medical goals. We mined our clients from social networks for $4 and sell them a subscription for $40. And today our LTV CAC ratio is 8. Such results we are not achieved immediately. We have been engaged in our startup since 2020, and today we are available in app stores. We have more than 2,000 users. We raised more than 200,000 in investment, and we plan to reach our first 25,000 users by the end of the year. We really love all these guys. This is our competitors, but we have clear difference from all these services. We are not about urgent questions. We are our service for communication with healthy people based on their PHR. This is our team. We have a great experience in corporations such as AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Playrix, and we are in medical business since 2015. Today, our main, today we like and want to collaboration with pharmaceutical companies, patient organizations, and other companies in Europe, and we want to expand in Europe market. Thank you.
You're exactly out of time. Thank you very much.
Okay, so but Rim, if I may ask, so you are you already live, or are you still at the proof of concept stage?
No concept stage. We are already live.
Do you already have paying customers?
Yes, we have more than now more than 200 paying customers.
Okay, and they pay the $14 per month.
Yes.
Okay. And so far, how do you actually increase the number of paying customers? Is it due to marketing outreach, or how do you go about?
It is of course marketing, and we plan to collaboration with insurance companies, because the main part of medicine today is insurance. So we want to integrate insurance package in our app for our users. And we want to create a smart insurance program. If you be more healthy, you can pay a little bit more for your medical insurance.
Okay. And your interest in Austria, if I may ask?
This question for me, can you repeat?
Yes, any specific interest in Austria, any specific need regarding Austria?
Yes, of course. We want to collaborations with Austrian universities, because your country is very rich in education. So we think that Austrian medical universities can help to with specializes for our service.
Okay.
Okay, Birgit, I suppose that we should put some limits on our discussion, because we have another participants, and probably you should ask Reem for arranging another meeting for tomorrow, maybe next day, maybe next week.
Yes, Reem, let's be in touch through email, perhaps. Perhaps you can send us also your pitch deck, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, that's the very good point that Reem told us, to provide any specific request for Austrian business agency. What do any certain company would like to have from your side? I mean, what kind of support, what kind of connections with the Austrian companies, and etc. So please, colleagues, pay attention to this, and after your presentation, you please don't hesitate to ask any specific request. Okay, I am kindly reminding you that you have 3 minutes on presentation, and the next word I would like to provide to Ms. Renata Sharipova from Innopolis.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the presentation about how to start a business in Austria. So, quick glance about the pharma policy company. We were founded in 2018, and the mission of the company is to develop the projects in the sphere of healthcare. So basically now, as a company, we are divided into 2 departments. The first department, the third field, is about production and sale of medical products, like the personal protective equipment for the medical staff, and the innovative sector of production, the medical swabs and other stuff for lab diagnostics. So in this question, we are looking for partners in Austria, because the medical products are innovative, and we have technologies and ready to enter the Austrian market, and maybe in the future to localize the production of medical products in Austria. The second department is development of the project called Medical Industrial Park. I think that in this questions we are quite clear, because we provide services for the residents and help them to enter the Russian market. So maybe we are welcome any collaboration projects in this sphere, in these questions. And if you have projects I mean that entrepreneurs who wants to enter the Russian market, will be happy to help them and provide all the services about the Russian market, all the information, I'm sorry. So I think that basically that's it. I've done. We are ready to discussion. Any questions?
Thank you, Renata. Very good. Do you have something to say?
Yeah, Renata, I mean, I would suggest perhaps you follow up with an email what kind of partners you're looking for, and then we can always also, together with Mr. Lukavsky, who of course is responsible for the outgoing side from Austria, see whether or not, you know, there might be some, I don't know, potential Austrian companies.
All right.
For you. We are responsible for the incoming side, but for the other side that you mentioned, Mr. Lukavsky probably perhaps could also be of help.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's go further. Thank you, Renata. And I would like to give a word to Mr. Maxim Nikitin from Net Health Lab company. Maxim, please remind that you have 3 minutes for presentation.
Maxim, you are probably muted.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, once again, my name is Maxim Nikitin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of startup project Telemed Hub. This is a solution for the integration of medical equipment with electronic health record systems. What is Telemed Hub? This is a solution for the integration of medical equipment. We aggregate data from sensors, wearable medical and non-medical devices, convert data into a single format. We use HL7 standard for health care data and transfer the data to external systems, any external systems, for example, EHR. Two main areas of application: remote patient monitoring, transfer of data from patient to the doctor, remote and mobile medical diagnostics, assistance to the doctor in making a diagnosis and monitoring therapy at a distance. It looks like a briefcase equipped with a Telemed Hub and medical devices for solving specific medical problems. We have different briefcases for different situations. We work in the fast-growing markets of remote patient monitoring. In our area, analytics predicts growth of up to $2 billion. We see CAGR more than 30%. Today, we have a working MVP. We have several trial projects in Russian clinics, including one of the biggest private clinic, Medicine. We have more than 2 most usable devices connected to our system, and this list is constantly expanded. Several most usable cases, first of all, is blood pressure and glucose monitoring. It's very often used in clinics. Monitoring of pregnant women, and telemedicine monitoring of the elderly and the people with chronic diseases. Three main benefits for our clinics, for our clients. Reduction of the cost of managing patients with chronic diseases, improving the quality of medical services provided, and reducing the risk of various complications resulting in hospitalization or the death of patients. We have an excellent team. All positions required for the development of a startup are closed. And then what we need. We have a vision and understanding of the prospects for the development of the European telemedicine and remote patient monitoring market. Unlike Russia, the European market has already formed. There are large global players. Quite a lot of telemedicine solutions are already being tested in different clinics. So the most importantly, there is a full-fledged insurance model of telemedicine for which remote monitoring is the best way to reduce costs. So we would like to find partners to localize our project in Europe, creating an enterprise, bringing into compliance with the requirements of the European market, first of all, GDPR, take participation in the state accelerations program or vendor programs, and raise investments in Europe for development and scaling. Thank you for your attention. Ready for your questions.
Okay. Quick question from my side. Have you received any investment so far?
No, we didn't receive any investments before.
Okay. So the minimal viable product you received or you developed yourself with your own means?
Yes, it was investments from our team members. So in this stage, we are trying to finance our projects from market, from our sales. But we understand that we need investments if we will try to export our solution to external markets in Europe, for example.
Okay.
So can I take one short question about is any programs like startup visa in Austria, like in France or in Portugal and Spain?
Yes, there is. There is a residence and work permit category for innovative startup founders that Austria is providing. However, though, I would say you are based in Innopolis, where you already have good environment. Obviously, I think the goal is not to relocate you, certainly not. Rather, I think once you have a market-ready product, once you are at the verge of internationalization, this is where I think we can come in. We don't really want to
okay, I understand. Okay.
Kind of getting competition here with Innopolis, not at all. And that's why I'm saying in the life science sector, I do see quite some challenges if you were to relocate, simply because also this is perhaps also for RIM, for the digital health, the cloud dot startup. The systems are different. The regulatory regimes are very different. So let's face it, I think especially life science startup need to be at a certain scaling up point where they are ready for internationalization.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxim. Birgit, Peter, should we go further?
Sure.
Okay, great. The next word I would like to provide to colleagues from ICL company. It is Olga, Konstantin, and Dilara. Colleagues, who will be the presenter? Who will be the speaker?
Colleagues, could you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Konstantin Chekin, Dr. Konstantin Chekin, head of DACH region of ICL service. I put put my question in the case of bad connection in the chat. So if you will have some problems understanding me, please read it. So ICL Services is one of the oldest and maybe biggest IT service company in Tatarstan, and we are working mostly for international customers. And I believe my question, it could be interesting to other participants. Let us assume some small business case. Could you please, out of your experience, provide some approximately size or number of investment, one-time investment, which we would need if we open a small office in Wien, let's say in Wien, and with, let's say, 2 local sales representatives, because otherwise it makes no sense, and 5 till 7 some other specialists. And approximately how many costs it will require for us to keep it running for, let's say, 2 or 3 years at least, before we can get some money out of it.
Now, this is a good question, but what profile should those 2 people have? Because it depends on their salary, and what profile. The higher the profile, the higher the salary. The office cost in itself, as Birgit presented, Vienna is known for relatively low office costs. Specifically, if you not want to be in the first district opposite St. Stephen's Cathedral. So, but can you give us some substance on the profile?
Not a problem. Let's assume 2 or 3 sales experts, local sales experts, because otherwise we cannot grow our business. And then let's assume 1 secretary, and the rest of the people should be some IT experts, local IT experts.
Okay. Now, it's difficult now to come up with a figure. I suggest we send you an email with our consideration and what this undertaking will cost.
I think in Austria, it's very common that also sales representatives, they get a certain amount of a fixed salary, but then they also have a variable part. And the variable part is dependent on the business that they generate. Of course, the hardest task is if you are new to the market to get the first customers. Do you already have customers in the DACH region?
In the DACH, yes, but we are working with one of the hugest IT companies in the world, our partner, and before it was most of our business working with this company.
Okay.
One of the 4 biggest one, if you think about IT business in the world. And now we're trying to establish our own business, and in this case, we would like to understand what we need. And of course, we need a local sales representative, it's clear. But could you just say what is usual fixed payment they're asking for, and what's the percentage of the interest for them? Is it 5, 10, 2, or half of percent? Because for us, it's a completely different information. And we honestly interested in investing and open our office in Wien, but we would like to understand the business case, how much it will cost us.
Yeah. I mean, then let's give you just approximate figures, perhaps. Company establishment, you have one-time fees for the lawyer, the notary. I would estimate 3,000 euros one-time fee, plus the share capital that you have to pay in. It's not frozen, as I said, it's the working capital of the company.
It's 15 or 17, if I remember correctly.
Yes, exactly. Then you will have also office costs. Well, to start with, you could actually start in one of the shared office spaces, especially to begin with, when you probably need a meeting room, not on an ongoing basis, you need a convenient address. You may actually need perhaps a small office. So those costs are very low and can be kept low as long as you don't really have full-fledged staff. Actually, for example, in Vienna already, there are a number of offices that come to mind next to SAP and other IT companies where there are even shared office centers. And they start with 100 euros per month just to have the virtual company seat plus the company address plus if you need a shared desk plus from time to time a meeting room that you rent. So here you have really all the possibility to keep costs low. And let's say if you want to have your own office that you can lock in such an office center, then okay, we're talking about perhaps 700 to 800, 900 euros a month. Again, costs are not that high. With regards to the sales personnel, and the key obviously is, I think you do need one person who will be the one to really build up the business for you. And on that front, my recommendation is always that this person needs to have the right incentive to come on board with their established contact network in your area. Mm-hmm. And what we have seen other companies do, I not too long ago supported a German company that set up an Austrian subsidiary. What did they do? They hired an Austrian guy whom they knew from previous joint IT projects, who was working for one of the large IT companies here as a project manager in that function. And they offered him a totally new opportunity by saying, hey, we also give you shares in the Austrian subsidiary. Okay, you will get a certain fixed salary, but we also give you the opportunity to grow this company as your baby. Mm-hmm. And so by giving him shares in the company, they gave him the real incentive to develop this business as he also obviously will have the benefit if he grows the business. So one thing is the salary, so he's insured and he's still, employed in the form of being employed rather than self-employed. So he has that security. But in addition, he will gain if he is successful in developing the business for the mother company. And this, I think, helps you keep the costs moderate and at the same time to really ensure that you have somebody who is driving the development on the ground. Because we all know that in essence, at the moment you come in as the subcontractor who is, of course you also would like to go up the value chain and be the project holder yourself. But I think you do need the step in between where the DACH region clients have a knowledgeable person, a project manager on the ground who can do the translation, not just in terms of language, but also in terms of culture, in terms of security, that you will actually deliver the trust building, all of that otherwise your partner ICT company is doing vis-a-vis the client.
It's for us, it's definitely clear that we need one or even more local sales expert with good network connection, etc., knowing the market. Otherwise, we cannot grow. But what is the fixed salary for him or for her? Just approximately a year.
I would say in Austria, we have 14 salaries. So I would say as a fixed salary, I would say 5,000 euros a month. Gross salary times 14 is 70,000. Mm-hmm. Plus either variable part of salary if he's successful, plus even this option that I pointed out, perhaps incentivizing the right person by giving him shares in the company or by actually participating the profit, the success of the company, letting him participate in that way.
And what is the usual case for sales expert? Does they getting some percentage from revenue they're bringing, or percentage from win, or how it's calculated, and which percentage we should expect? What is marked usual?
Ja, ob es praktisch einfach nur vom Business, das sie bringen, oder ob das vom Profit ist, was das Business bringt, etc.
Yeah, usually it's probably more from the turnover that they are generating and the size of the contract that they are winning, so to say. But I think probably even better would be to talk to an HR expert and get their expert opinion. We are generalists, so that is probably a bit more the question there.
But is it 10% normal or 2%? What? Let us assume an income. It's most easiest to calculate.
Yeah, Konstantin, I don't dare to give an answer here. I would rather really say this is a question for an HR specialist. I don't want to give you here any gut feeling answer, but really an expert should answer that question.
Sorry that I'm asking you to precise question. And could you connect us with HR expert from other company, consulting company, who could provide some information? It could be even German speaking. It's not a problem to speak German for us.
We'll see what we can deliver with regards to ICT salary information from our sources, and then think of also who we could recommend for you.
Thank you very much for your answer. At least you provide us some stones to build a business case.
Okay.
I think some small of them, but hopefully you provide us maybe next week, some additional information.
May I ask, in terms of number of employees, how big is ICL services?
It's quite big, and it's more than 2,000 employees working for international business only.
Only for international business?
Yes, we used to work for biggest international companies and customers. Almost, if you, let's say 3 or 4 names in pharmaceutical industry, it probably will be our customer. The same, the steel industry, car manufacturer, etc., luxury companies. So the names you probably will think about when I'm asking, then definitely it's our customers. Of course, we are our huge partner.
Do you have any sales office already in the European Union?
No, we do not have any office in European Union, but I can very well speak German. Wir können weiter auf Deutsch unterhalten, but unfortunately our colleague cannot follow us. Therefore, I'm speaking English. We are very interested, but we try to establish a business case for us.
Okay, Konstantin, let's continue our discussion, I would say, by email or by having a separate private online call then.
Yes, thank you, colleagues. And sorry for that I'm taking too much time for my question, but I believe it was helpful to other colleagues to understand the business case.
Thank you, Konstantin. It was really a very good discussion, and let's continue. And I would like to give a word to our colleagues from InfoWatch company, to Miss Irina Zinovkina and Alexander Gorsky. Irina, we see your presentation, but we don't hear you.
Yeah, dear colleagues, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Just a minute. Okay, dear colleagues, my name is Irina Zinovkina, and I'm a consulting director in InfoWatch. My aim for today's presentation is to give you information about our company and our solution for data leaks protection. Let's get started. InfoWatch has been active in the information security business for more than 18 years and has evolved into a group of companies that protect enterprises against various information security threats. Infowatch leads data leak prevention markets in Russia and the CIS and offers comprehensive solutions for enterprise protection against internal security threats. DLP system Traffic Monitor by Infowatch first appeared among the key players in Gartner Magic Quadrant for DLP in 2007 and continue to hold its positions. Infowatch solutions are successfully used by thousands of large companies in various industries in more than 20 countries. And Infowatch customer list includes public and financial institutions, manufacturing enterprises, energy companies, and large businesses. Our main purposes are to reduce the company's financial and reputational risks caused by leaks, prevent data leaks without interrupting business processes, understand the context of internal communications through classification and categorization of corporate confidential data, control employee operations in business apps, preventing retrieval of confidential data in digital or printed form, and collect evidence for incidents investigation. Infowatch software solutions are designed to control the handling of corporate data and protect it from being leaked and to minimize the risks associated with the transmission of information. And it's very important in context of different legislation such as GDPR. Our software is a ready-to-use industry solution based on the specifics of business processes in different companies, and it has modular structure. Users pay only for the features they need. Moreover, experts from Infowatch Consulting, implementation engineers, and Infowatch Academy trainers are always available to assist with comprehensive security audit, cyber strategy and program planning, remediation, and employee training. Our interests in the Republic of Austria are to search partners and IT security integrators, to search for contacts with state organs for certification and standardization, and to clarify the questions of legislation in the IT security sector. So feel free to contact us and ask any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Irina. So you are already operative in 20 countries, but not in the European Union, or also in the European Union?
European Union has its own different questions concerning cybersecurity and data leak prevention, and we started to work with other countries, but with the implementation of GDPR, we want to start to work with Europe. Because of the coronavirus, we didn't have any possibilities to manage some international communications, but now our software is ready to be implemented in European countries. It supports many languages, not only Russian, English, but it has content analysis of many languages, and I think particularly all European languages. So I think we're ready to start our work in Austria.
Okay, excellent. I would very much like to continue our conversation, perhaps going much more in depth into the topic of cybersecurity, what Austria has got to offer in terms of research, in terms of also perhaps schools and universities and partners, and so that you can get then a better understanding of what's going on here in this respect, and whether or not Austria would be a good base here. But cybersecurity is certainly a topic where I think Austria has a lot, and where you will find also a good lively scene at the moment, because it's such a big topic.
Yes, of course, we will be very thankful to contact with you concerning questions, and of course, cybersecurity, I think, is the main topic in the world now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Irina. And we have the last one company, but also very important company. It's our colleagues from Test IT and Artem Parfenov. We would like to give you a word.
Hello, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, my name is Artem, and I would like to share some information about Test IT system, and I'm responsible for partnership sales in Test IT company. Test IT is cutting-edge software testing management system, but before talking about our system, I would like to talk about problem in IT industry. According to a survey, over of 60% of IT departments worldwide face the changes and losses from software failures is this huge amount of money. So our system can help with this problem. First of all, we unite quality assurance teams on a single platform. We can manage both manual and automatic tests. And in Russia, we have 140 customers, even more. In accordance with our experience, Test IT helps cut time on a routine task by 50% and boost time to market for digital products by 15 to 20%. I already told that in Russia we have more than 140 customers, and our main customers are banks, insurance companies, IT companies, education platforms, and so on. And in this picture, I would like to say about one of our customers. It's VTB Bank. Actually, it's number 2 in Russian list of all banks. And in this bank, they have more than 500 or 5,000 quality assurance engineers. So this bank have a problem. This bank was looking for alternative to existing foreign solution in order to optimize quality assurance processes. Now there are 5,000 engineers using our Test IT system, and it helped them cut their test cycle by 30%. And also I would like to talk about our customer is Rossельхозbank. It is bank number 1 for agriculture sector in Russia. Also, they have a lot of quality engineers, more than 200 engineers, and this bank was looking for a solution to unite various manual and automatic testing team in one platform, and we help them, and now the performance rose by 30-40%. So more information about Test IT team you can find on our webpage. Here is my email address, also my phone. So if you need any question, feel free to contact me. That's it.
Thank you, Artem. Do you have any specific requests to our colleagues from the agency?
Not now. Actually, my colleague Artem is responsible for communication with the European market. I'll show all presentation, and actually I made a print screen with contact of her Peter, and I give this information to Artem.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay,
is Test IT already operating outside of Russia, or is it mainly Russian clients?
No. Yes, we have some clients outside the Russia Federation. Also, we have some clients from Europe, but unfortunately, it's not too much. We need more, I think.
Okay. And how large is Test IT in terms of employees?
About 40.
40. Okay.
I see Artem Kostyukov has joined us. Artem, we just asked your colleague whether you have any specific request to Austrian Business Agency.
At the moment, we have generally the part of the strategy that we're following right now is mostly soft launch. That's why we're conducting a lot of customer development interviews with key segments, with key industries in the European markets, and that would be very useful for us to get in touch with the representatives of the banking industry, of fintech industry, software development industry, to get to know what challenges they face in terms of software testing and quality assurance, and see if we can be of help, of any assistance to them as a company, as a product, as a quality assurance team. And yeah, there might be a reason for us to open a representative branch in Austria, because I know that a lot of European customers, especially huge enterprises, prefer when the tech support is on site, basically. So we, in our plan, in future, we are going to develop a network of regional partners or branches where we will be able to provide both audit, consulting services, and technical support for our product.
I have a question. Have you ever been trying to talk to Raiffeisen Bank?
Yes, actually, just last year we tried through the Russian Chamber of Commerce in Austria to get to the top of the Raiffeisen Bank, and we actually got a good reply from the top management of Raiffeisen Bank. They asked us if we have already implemented our solution in the Russian branch. So right now we're actually working on this direction as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking, because with Raiffeisen you have Raiffeisen has its feet in both sides, in Russia and in European Union or in Austria.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be an ideal entry.
Yes, we're working in this direction right now, but we of course want to talk to other players in the market, to other segments, to other potential customers. We cannot just focus on one company, even though it's as huge as Raiffeisen.
And perhaps a comment from my side. As an IT service provider from Russia, for any Austrian bank or insurance company, as long as you come across as a Russian service provider who does not have an office, a legal entity here in the European Union, it's extremely hard to get direct clients. As long as you are not present within the European Union, you will probably always be considered the subcontractor who, not without the client perhaps knowing, is expected to provide services at a very competitive price.
Mm-hmm.
But you will not be able to get directly to the client, because I think for safety reasons, for security reasons, for all sorts of reasons, and the list is long, up to, I don't know, perhaps even less, how should I say, almost concerns regarding where the data is residing or the hacking or whatnot. Let's not even go there. It's very difficult. It's a matter of building the trust, and it's a matter of making sure that you can also guarantee that regarding GDPR regulations that are very different in the European Union, you do it like a European Union company. Otherwise, I think these kind of not always clearly mentioned reasons why it's not equal market access, so to say. And I think it's not just a matter of having a legal entity. It's also of being able to provide the service on the ground. We see more and more the tendency towards this whole nearshoring aspect. Mm-hmm. And with nearshoring, I mean I can actually reach somebody here on the ground who can help me first level support.
Yes. Thank you, Frau Birgit. I completely agree with you, because that's exactly what we the sort of trends and insights that we received from our market research. And we're getting in this, going in this direction. It just takes time for us, especially in terms of GDPR compliance. Right now, we already have, we're incorporating a company in the Netherlands, but we are still going through the compliance period. And I can see that there is already a lot of questions, a lot of procedures that deal with ISO standards and with GDPR.
So, but you already decided for the Netherlands as being your first hub in the European Union?
As I said, we're looking at a number of branches. We already have actually an operational company in Cyprus, but this is more like a historical legacy. It was the easiest way for us to put our foot in the door and try to reach out to some European markets. But right now we're looking for a place that would be the best representation of our global, not just the European, but also global brand.
And this is where I think the country image plays an extremely important role, because Cyprus within the European Union, of course, like Malta, is considered to be the location where, let's put it perhaps diplomatic, yes, as you said, it's the first entry point. But from a business perspective, certainly Austria has a different reputation, because it's not considered a low tax country. It's not considered a low cost country. So for many reasons, you know, here we are very grateful that we have all these aspects that sometimes, okay, we are not the #1 choice for companies that are looking for other, or where, let's put it that way, where other arguments are more important. But I think for operative companies that really also want to benefit from the image that Austria as a business location has, and where also an Austrian GmbH has the same positive image as a German GmbH, because our commercial law is very similar to the German one. This is certainly something where I would say it's a good base for long-term positioning in the market.
Thank you very much. I would love to continue our discussion, but I'm pretty sure that other people are also waiting their turn.
You got our contacts in the presentation. We will share the presentation with Rais, and I think Rais, you will then also send it out, and all of you feel free. I mean, we already kind of said that we are more than happy to follow up, offer also separate private sessions with you guys, and to really support you in a customized way, go deeper into your specific needs.
Yeah, vielen Dank.
Gerne.
Thank you, Artem.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Artem. As well, yes, definitely, we will collect your emails and send it to Birgit and Peter, and as well provide you with the contacts of Birgit and Peter. Colleagues, I think that is it. We had the final company that presented their product and the specific request to Austrian Business Agency. Birgit, I suppose that we had a very good discussion for the first time. Unfortunately, not all companies were with us till the end of the meeting, but I think it's a very good point to start the further meetings, personal meetings, and maybe meetings in such format as we had today. Do you have something to say, something to add?
Thank you, Rais, for organizing it all in such an efficient and professional way. We are very grateful. And perhaps a final comment. I want to come back to the image of the bridge. We really want to be the bridge because we strongly, both of us, believe in close relations between Austria and Russia. I think let's not get politics into the way, but rather really focus on the business aspects. And I think there is a lot where both can benefit from each other if we continue and pursue the relations that were started today.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, colleagues. Peter, do you have something to add?
Do svidaniya. It was great.
Great, thank you.
Большое спасибо.
You have a very good Russian. We are looking forward to welcome you in Innopolis in Tatarstan and to show you the ecosystem of our city and our residents. Colleagues, thank you so much for your participating. We will share the